Welcome to the Elastic Road to MCP mini-series. In the previous episode, we've introduced Retrieval Augmented Generation. We've seen how we can use various semantic search techniques to bring back relevant documents from our data and build answers based on that. In today's episode, we're taking a look at agentic workflows or agents. These are more complex LLM-based architectures that can use various tools defined for them, such as RAG, whenever they see fit, and they can build really complex conversational agents from this. Let's take a look.
Now, RAG already solves a lot of issues, and you've probably seen it going around the internet. It's a really great process that brings together search and LLM generation, but we're also able to go further than that. So say if you want to use it into the context of a chat, which is what most people do these days, you want to ask a question, behind the scene, the agent is probably going to retrieve the relevant documents and generate an answer for you. However, if you have a follow-up question or you want to use that information and look cross-reference to something else, or you want a colleague to ask the same question tomorrow and get the same results, or based on that information, you also want to create an Excel sheet and run some spreadsheet calculations, you will run into some limitations. Which brings us to Agentic RAG. This combines the best of retrieval, so search, semantic search, vector representation of words, plus generative part of the process, which is generating a nice response or having large LLMs in the loop that can process information, summarize it, and provide natural language outputs. But we also want to take more actions. We want our agents to have more toys. So if you think of the retrieval part as just one tool that the agent can use, we also want to add alternative tools. So besides getting back the relevant information, maybe we want to summarize it, we want to get back some numbers from an Excel sheet or from a SQL database, and we want to run some operations like get a quarterly earnings report or set a calendar invite for the people I mentioned in the meeting, set up a to-do list for myself, whatever it may be. You want more of that AI initiative in the loop. So we're now starting to create more complex architectures. We can define each of these tools that the agents can use, such as the search tool that perhaps if you're based on Elastic, you're able to look through an index, generate a query in full JSON language or SQL, ESQL, whatever it is that your agent wants to use across a database that it probably has permissions to. You can define the way that the agents connect to those data sources. You can define what sits into those data sources and how the information gets retrieved. You can then define what operations can be run on that data, such as a semantic search element, which is very similar to the RAG example that we've been talking about, but you can also give it tools to check external information. For example, get the weather from a particular weather site, get flight information from a agent traveling site, and put all of that together to create an itinerary for your journey.
So to break it down one more time, we are first using the concept of vector and semantic search, which enables us to use LLMs to retrieve the relevant passages or documents from various data sources. We can combine this with the generative model to generate natural text as the answer based on these passages we've retrieved, as well as other data sources. However, this process still depends on us creating the right queries or choosing the right strategy for retrieval as a combination of semantic, lexical search, a hybrid approach, and also doing the prompt engineering ourselves, supplying the right prompt and instructions to the model alongside the context that we've retrieved. When we introduce agentic workflows, we move over these responsibilities to the agent. So now the retrieval becomes a tool that the agent can run by itself. Not only that, it can also generate the queries in whichever language necessary. It can also do the same process as a different tool to run a live search to an external data source and gather more information besides the data sources that you initially provided. And it can also run a variety of other tools, from calling various APIs, running plugins, executing small code snippets, making calculations, sending messages, or even generating graphics. All these tools then together can be used to collect a lot of information and then generate the answer based on that. And finally, this is not a one-time command, but rather it can be introduced in the context of a conversation where there's back and forth. You can ask follow-up questions, and you can watch the agent think through solving an entire problem by running all these tools in sequence. Each of these tools can be defined in various pieces of code that can be provided to the LLM. It is the LLM's job to choose which of these tools to run and in what order, so you don't have to hard code the entire logic of the process, rather rely on the LLM's understanding of what needs to be done and detecting the intent and the necessary next steps. And this can be continuously expanded upon. The agent can have a few or a lot of tools available to choose between and to run. You can do these sequentially or in parallel. And you can even introduce multiple agents that each have their own specialty with their own set of tools that can collaborate together and put all this information in one place. Thank you for watching. In the next episode, we'll talk about Model Context Protocol and how we can define the standards for all these agent-to-agent communication and much more. We'll see you there.